Probably you guys have seen my previous video where I played Epic 7 for 1 month. This is gonna be called my top 10 mistakes that I've made playing Epic 7 as a brand new player in 2025. Things to do or not to do, especially if you just started out Epic 7 in the last month, this month, or if you want to start Epic 7 right now, right? First thing ever. The first thing ever, right? The first thing ever. And this is absolutely a must, right? You do not want to claim the selector for as long as you can, right? For as long as you can, because there is a very good chance that you might just get the unit you want from some of the random 5-star selectors that this game throws at you. And I mean, you have a ton of random 5-star selectors. You have all these, they are random 5-star selectors, right? You get from the Path of Hair, you also get it from the Journey of Succession, you get it from like just playing the game, the level, you get a ton of these random ass 5-stars. So for as long as you can, even for your MLs, try to hold them for the duration in which you have used up all of the RNGs first, right? After using the RNG 5-stars, then you can decide, okay, you know what? I'm gonna slam this. So for example, I'm still sort of chilling because there's no rush from since there's 10 days. So what if I just get a random 5-star selector again from like the next 10 days? Then it will be a waste, right? So as much as it, because in this game, dupes don't matter. At least for like, if you're like not competitive in like RTA, dupes just don't matter. This is not Honkai scenario. E1 Luna changes nothing. Okay, fine, you get like attack and health, right? E1, E2, E6 Luna, it changes almost absolutely nothing unless you are like trying to go for like rank 1 or like the top 100. Then maybe at that point, stats would matter, but that's like a giga Leviathan there that I'm not even gonna be venturing for. So generally speaking, dupes do not matter, so try to save up your selectors for as long as you can until you get the 5-star. Second thing, this is a must to get through as early as you can, because some of these units, it's already done. Some of these units here, they change everything, and it's completely free. I guess it's a little bit like the rework system that we're going to be getting in Honkai scenario. I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but essentially it turns your 3-star units into like god tier 6-star potential 6-star units, right? Any unit in this game can be a 6-star, but some of the units at base 3-star is not good, but you get the rework and they become a lot stronger. So for example, Aros, he is a god, and I feel like he's probably one of the first units that you should be unlocking, because he will carry you through pretty much almost every single PvE content. Same thing for Commander Lorena. She is also a completely 3-star unit that you can also get unlock this specialty change. So do not ignore the specialty change, because some of these units, you'll be using them for a very long time. Now, this other mistake that I probably made, this side story, right? You are actually able to choose one, I think once every 2 weeks or once a week. So there's technically no harm in choosing these side stories. Whether or not you want to pull on their specific banner, that's up to you. But technically, if you want to farm them, they do give like a pretty decent amount of like molas, you know, confident bone bars, all that kind of stuff. I think it's not too bad, especially now that the infinite carry event is gone. It is not that bad of a place to dump your early game progression, because you are gonna need a lot of this. And this is gonna bring me to my next point, which is the rare catalyst in this game. The bottleneck on this thing is unreal. I think this is single-handedly my biggest bottleneck as a new player. It's not really the gold, it's not really the molas, it's not really the summons, this is by far the biggest bottleneck, because back when I started, I was farming 3-7 using the infinite stamina event, right? So I was farming this particular stage for almost every single one of my stamina. Now, unfortunately, they fixed it to the point where you can no longer get your APs or rare catalysts. So what happened was I have a ton of gold, a ton of charms, all this, but I couldn't even level up my units because I didn't have enough AP. And I didn't have enough rare catalysts. So I would say, don't really spend them haphazardly until you know exactly which unit you want to raise. I don't think you should be raising every single unit to plus 15 as well. Some of them you can sort of just leave them, not really because of the molas, which unfortunately you guys have missed out on the mola event, which you can get the mola boxes, right? But molas in this game are also extremely scarce. So for most DPSs, leaving them to plus 15 is good, but for your supports and sustains, I'm not even sure if sustains is a word, you don't really need to max them all out, because their role is not really that much with regards to damage. So as long as you unlock the main ones, so for example, I really card, right? I don't really care if I get the damage percent, as long as you get the main ones like turn cooldown. This is honestly a little bit of a waste as well. Getting the effect chance and all the kind of stuff would be sufficient. Dini, I only maxed out until you get some of the utility, because damage dealt by your supports or your sustains, they are not that important, right? Only the turn cooldowns and the effect chance, I would say some of these units are going to be pretty good for you. So you can kind of take a look and see which one of these are going to be good. Just don't waste any of the rare credits because they're super rare. Another thing that I would say is try to get into a guild as fast as possible, because one of the specialty change, or not the special, the recruit missions, the connections, Tama Marine, you need to send aid to your fellow guild members 20 times. I was hard stuck on this for a super long time, because there was a limit as to how much can you aid within your guild. So if your guild doesn't request aid, or if it's like an inactive guild, it can take you a super long time to unlock Tama Marine, and you absolutely want her. Extremely important unit in the early game as you play through Abilis, play through the story, play through anything, right? This girl is super important. So I hope that you guys can find a good guild. Just try to find one. I feel like we have a Discord right here at discord.g4pokke, right? A lot of people I've been gathering, they are playing Epic 7, we're making sister guilds. So if you're looking for a guild, you just start playing this game, join a guild as fast as possible, so that eventually later on in the future, you can in fact unlock Tama Marine as soon as you can. The battlefield, the aid, the world boss, all that kind of stuff, it depends if you're like a casual or if you're like you're a competitive player. But for a new player, I don't think you need to care about it too much. Just try to find people around your caliber, or if you have like some whales that are like willing to like help you out, that's also going to be good as well. But generally, these are just for funsies, right? Which, speaking of for funsies, Arena is a pretty interesting one. So for me, right, as long as you hit Champion 5, this is... it means you won, essentially. I know you can go all the way up to the Emperor, Legend, like the top one, and you can have a lot of these. But to me, the moment you hit Champ 5, you basically beat the game in terms of RTA, or like, in terms of Arena, because this is the next big difference in terms of your weekly Skystone, right? So this is 640 all the way through 800. Everything else after, it actually changes very little. And for each subsequent rank up, it is not only based on your points, it is based on the top 3000. So even though I have like 5,251, I'm nowhere close to the top 3,000, which means if I want to hit top 3,000, I have to beat everyone else above me, which, in my opinion, they are most likely going to be getting substantially better gear because they've been playing this game for a lot longer time. So I would say Champ 5, the moment you hit this, you can say, okay, I am good. This arena is fine. I don't need a whale. I don't need to force myself to just keep climbing higher. This is a pretty achievement. I believe I hit Champ 5 within 1 week of playing with no ML. The only units I used for my Champ 5, I think you guys can see from my video, right? I used Yasuo, Mort, I believe Dini, and I think got one more unit I can't really remember. Pretty much every single unit that the game gave you for free, you can just use it to kind of do a Champ 5, so I don't think it's gonna be that crazy. Only at Champ 5, I think the teams, it gets a little bit cooked. The Harsetis, the Arflans, all the kind of stuff, right? So that's pretty much it for the arena. Don't need to sweat about that much the moment you hit Champ 5. And the RTA, in a similar vein, you don't really care about this as well. I think Master was like a good stopping point. Master is the one in which you get your skin. So this is where most players, if you are caring about an RTA, this is like a very good point to start, because everything after, it gets like progressively more and more difficult, because it's like an exponential skill, right? The players that want to go all in, they have been playing this game for super long, they are gonna all get around like, you know, Champion, Warlord, and all that kind of stuff. So the moment you hit Master, if you're like a free play, I think it's like a very nice way to just stop, right? So that's pretty much it in that vein of like, don't need to get too competitive, which kind of brings me this game, early to mid game, and to a certain extent even the late game, I feel like Epic 7's focus is really not that much on like the PvP aspect. It is more so like you really have a lot more impact in the PvE. So there's been this sentiment of like, should you be building PvP units or PvE units? In my opinion, my mistake that I'm still making right now actually is I just refuse to build PvE units. Shout out to Jen and Z for I just don't want to build PvE, because I was thinking, okay, if this unit can't see play in RTA or Arena, why the fuck do I need it? Because PvE, they're most of the time, they're like one-time clears, and then most of the most PvE refreshable stage is like Nightmare Raid. The moment you're done with Nightmare Raid, you don't really use them ever again. So I was like, okay, you know what? Since it's gonna be like a one-time thing, I don't want to give it that, right? Unfortunately, because of this mindset I have a much harder time when it comes to a lot of these PvE content, which if you clear, you get ridiculously good rewards. So for especially for your Abyss 110, because this is the floor that unlocks your next ML5, right? If you don't want to build PvE units, you're gonna skip Tama Marie because she's only for PvE, or you're gonna skip Commander Lorena, or you're gonna skip like Special Tenebria. I don't even think you can get past any of these floors. PvE in this game, even though some of them are like one times, they are like super integral to the game's progression. And in fact, if you can't even clear the story stages, you're just locked there. You just can't even unlock and progress any further, and this may or may not make your overall experience in Epic 7 feel a lot worse. So I would say, don't really have the notion that you should only build PvP units, because how are you gonna get to PvP if you can't even beat against the AI of this game, right? So on that same vein, I think Nightmare Raid, it is a very important place to basically invest in, because the rewards for these, right, the main rewards, they are these are from your first time clears, they are like super good subsets. So I would say that, you know, do take the time to build the units required to tackle this, because this is the, as far as I'm concerned, the only refreshable difficult PvE stage. The Automaton Tower, I think for this one, it's very easy, as at least compared to Labyrinth, so you don't really need to care about it too much. But for Labyrinth, I would say that this should be a priority in which anybody playing Epic 7 long term should be focused on, because this refreshes every single month, and the rewards, the clears, the gears are like super good. So I would say this can be a focus. Other than that, Hunt or Rift, I think I talked about it a little bit just now with regards to my 1 month account. I would say at this point, there is not too much of a point of doing Rift if you cannot clear the full rewards, right? So the Rift, you get a lot of drops when it comes to the season reward. On top of that, you also get like, I believe like 3 or 4 times more relics compared to Hunt, because you get like guaranteed purple, and very commonly you get the epic gears, right? Compared to Hunt, you get crafting materials, reforged materials, sometimes it drops the ML summons and the confident bookmarks, and some sky stones and stamina. I would say that as a new player, like fresh off the bat new player, first of all, you might not even be able to do Rift because you don't have Fene. As a new player, I think it's just basically impossible, because this boss is ridiculously fucking hard unless you get Fene, right? Unless you get Fene as a new player. If you can do this, right, as a new player, I feel this is worth it more than Hunt, because the game gives you a lot more gold and charms in the early game, and then you can use these gold and charms with the gears you get from Rift, assuming you can get this. So an example of my situation right now, right, is that I slammed a lot into Hunt back then, on top of the reforge and the crafting materials that the game gave me from completing the missions, to the point where I have so much of these, I probably can never spend them in like 1 or even 2 streams. I also have a ridiculous amount of reforged materials, so in that aspect, what I'm really lacking is not really with regards to Hunt itself, but if I can directly gain the clear season rewards from Rift, on top of, you know, it technically gives you way more purple and red gears, you wouldn't really run out of materials to craft these new gears. At least the bottleneck, in my opinion, is probably by the time you reach my stage, it's gonna be like gold. I think gold is like one of, if not the biggest bottleneck in this game. I thought as a new player, you will have no issues with gold. I guess this is my next mistake, right? I thought I will have no issues with gold. I found for I think 200 million after the end of first week. 200 million. I believe I have 700,000 stigma. This used to be 1.1 million stigma and 200 million gold. That was after slamming all in 3-7 eulogy non-stop during the infinite stamina carry event for that first week. I shit you not, I think just yesterday or the day before, my gold went down to like less than 100,000, because upgrading gears costs you a ridiculous amount of money. So if you were to take any gear to, for example, this random ass gear, if I were to slam all in to plus 15, this is 645,000 gold for 1 piece of gear. So with 10 pieces of gear, that's 6 million. Everything in this game costs you gold, from upgrading your artifacts, from upgrading your units' abilities, from even like implanting your dupes, fucking taking off the goddamn gear. You guys can't see this. It's 48,000. It's $48,000 to take off a piece of gear. So everything in this game needs gold. So I would say, if you think you will never run out of gold in a new player, even when you have like 200, 300, 400, 500 million gold, it's still not enough. I would say don't fall into the pit traps of like, okay, I have enough gold now. I'm gonna go ahead and farm like elemental dungeons. I'm gonna farm hunt. I'm gonna farm. No, if you can farm gold as a new player, just slam gold, because now I have ran out of the new player buffs. I don't have the gold buff anymore. I don't have the XP. Now I only get 20% bonus gold, right? I've lost all of my new player benefits. I've lost my unequipped cost. And now I feel that I wish I just dumped even more of my stamina into gold right now. Like if I had known today, I would have legit just dumped every last bit of my leaves. I had like 300 leaves. Right now, I've literally spent everything. I have 7 leaves. I've spent every single... I think this game probably gives you like close to 500 leaves. Now that I've been playing this game for 1 month. Yeah, 500 leaves from day 1 to day 31. I wish I spent every single one of those leaves, every single one of the infinite carrots, all in on either the story stage or 3-7. Because gold is such a insane bottleneck that technically you wouldn't really face this with your other stuffs, because like I mentioned, the game gives you a shit ton of crafting materials and the rifts and the upgrades and everything, where gold is at the end of the day the number 1 bottleneck. So that is gonna be another mistake that I've made. Oh, since I'm here, right? Yo, free to plays, remember to claim these, by the way. It's a free 7 leaf for 1 token, right? This costs only 1 of the Robin shops. It's a free 7 leaf, so if you haven't claimed this yet, it's free. You can just get it, right? In case you guys think you can buy nothing. So that is pretty important over there. Me personally, I didn't really face any mistakes in summons. You guys might face this problem when you are coming from like Hoyoverse games or like mainstream gacha games where there's this thing called building pity, right? You cannot build pity in Epic 7. Every single pool you drop into a banner, if you don't complete them, they are gone, exception towards Mystic Summons. Mystic Summon is the only thing that can carry for every other banner. If you pull, if you didn't finish, it's gone forever. I have heard one of my mods, one of my mods, like my Discord mod, they made this. I think it's Roxy, right? I'm not sure if it's Roxy. Bro spent, I believe, 80 summons on Lidica. And for some that bro is there, right? For some godforsaken reason, he didn't finish the Lidica banner. So he legit just dumped 80 summons and it's gone. Just like that. So I really hope nobody does this, because that sounds really fucking painful. You cannot build pity in this game. So if you were to commit to a banner, just go all in, right? You have to go all in. You cannot stop halfway. Just send it, because losing 80 summons, oh my god, bro, that's 500. I think that's 5. Yeah, that's 400. Yeah, 400 of the Covenant bookmarks. So, very painful. You can build pity on your Mystic Summons. That's the only one, but this is super rare anyway. So, if you have it, you can just kind of slam it. So, yeah, just don't be a Roxy. Just don't be a Roxy. Very painful. You probably don't need to pull for these units, because first of all, they probably just suck. Second of all, they get reruns a lot. And third of all, we have these banners called the limited banners. Limited banners such as for example, your Young Senya, your Afternoon Soulflan, your Summer units, your Collab units, all these limited summons, they come back very infrequently. I believe the reruns for these banners, I think it's an annual period like 6 months or even longer before they come back again. So missing out on limited units, it will be very painful, especially because a lot of these limited summons, they shape the meta that is RTA, Arena, and Guild Wars. You can see that Renek, she came out. Almost everyone and their fucking moms are using Renek right now. At least if you have been playing RT or Arena, right? Everyone is just slamming Renek. Everyone is also slamming the brand new ML Fireside like Baranga. So I would say that these units, if you are interested in this kind of like endgame PvP RTA, they are way more important than some of these standard units. Because maybe some of the standard units are really good. For example, Lidica is super good. You might not even have the gear to use her. Which brings me to my, I guess at this point, my biggest mistake that I've made on my account, which is don't pull for a unit if you can't gear them. I think other content creators also talk about it as well, but I've made this mistake twice now, right? I've made this mistake twice because I'm a fucking dumbass. I've made this mistake for Lidica, and I've made this mistake for it's a little bit funny that they're both fire. Guard Captain Crow, and I just realized I forgot to ungear her. Oh my fucking god. Yeah, I'm not gonna. Okay. Yeah, as I was saying, yeah. Don't pull for a unit if you can't gear them. And I think this is like super important because I made this mistake twice, kind of. I put for guard Captain Crow as well as Lidica, knowing full well I just don't have enough gears to make them work. Technically, I could make Lidica work if I steal my DDR's gears, but I use my DDR a lot more frequently, or even I Brunette more frequently than Lidica. Maybe one that I can change, but unfortunately, it costs fucking $288,000 to change gears in this fucking game, so it is what it is. But yeah, if you don't have the gears, right, because for example, Crow, he's very specifically tied to like speed gear with defense. He doesn't crit. So if you pull for unit, and you can't use them, it is effectively like, especially if you go hard pity like me, I hard pity on Crow, that's 600 bookmarks for a unit that can't even see play. And now, I don't even see people using Crow, man. I think people used to use him to target against Afternoon Soak Flan. I think it's a pretty good counter. Yeah, fast forward like 1 month later, nobody used him anymore. So I basically pulled for this unit that I never geared. I didn't have a chance to gear, and even if I have the gear now, I can't even use him because I think he's out of meta, right? So people think power creep in HSR is crazy. Yep. So probably don't do that. Always, at least not for non-limited units. If for limited units, for ML units, I think most of them are pretty fine. But for these kind of like non-limited, if you don't have the gear, then there's just really no need to pull at all. You can just wait for like these kind of like collabs. Because right now I think I'm still pretty okay because I do the short refresh. So my summons are still pretty healthy at 1.5k. So it's basically like almost 3 hard pities. I'm fine. But if you are not gonna having enough confident bookmarks, it is a pretty big resource sink, essentially, right? I want to end off this video with one last thing. I don't think this is really have anything to do with a mistake or like a experience, but go into this game without the mindset of a mainstream gacha to end off this entire video. I knew what I was getting myself into before I started playing Epic 7, because I have played this kind of games similarly back in the past. I've played Counter-Strike. You guys have seen Counter-Strike's relic system. Holy shit. Okay, it's not as bad as Epic 7 in my opinion, because Epic 7 to cause go and unequip is crazy, right? You want to roll for the cooldown set, the fucking cooldown set. Yeah, okay, anyways, yeah, I've played this kind of games before. I've played Epic 7, not Epic 7, I played RGB gear, I've played Counter-Strike, this kind of like PvP-ish gacha gear, Korean gear games. If I went into this game expecting this to be like another version of a game, for example, like Honkai Star Rail, Genshin, One Race, whatever, I think I wouldn't be able to enjoy this genuinely, because a lot of the systems in this game, they are considered kind of dated, costing money to unequip gears. No 50-50, which I think modern gachas ruined it. I don't know why that's fucking 50-50. No PT carry forward. Special banners, for example, the Mystic banners. PvP, right? Competitive pay-to-win PvP in this kind of gacha games. And I feel that playing Epic 7, even though thank that I'm not free player, I spent like, I think $100-ish. I don't think it really ruined that much of the game for me when it comes to like the pay-to-win aspect of a PvP. Because at the end of the day, it is PvP, it is pay-to-win, right? The top ranks in like champion, like the big boys over here, right? Maybe there might be 1 or 2 free-to-plays that have been playing this game since day 1 and like god tier gears. Maybe that's a couple, but I would say the majority of them, you get there with money, right? You get there with like all of the ML5s, perfect relics, 25 speed gear, 30 speed gear, speed checks, everything. It is basically pay to win, right? And a lot of the units, the UI, the PvE, like for example, right, in like, let's just say for example the Abyss, right? The Abyss is sort of like a hard unit check. So if you want to talk about it from like HSR perspective, if you don't have a specific unit against Negador, for example, if you don't have the follow-up attacks, if you don't have the attack frequency, you can't break wall armor, you're gonna have a much more difficult time clearing this kind of endgame content, right? If you don't have the right units for Pure Fisher, for APOC, you're gonna have a more difficult time. For Abyss, it is some of the stages, at least that's what I feel. For some of the stages, if you don't have a specific unit, you just don't clear. Like, period. So for example, 107, if you have no sleep, I just don't think you clear this ever. You have to have sleep, right? You are basically forced to build your 3 stars, 4 stars, and even though there are basically free-to-play options, but you kind of just have to use them and complete these puzzles, which on one hand you could view as very restrictive team building. You are forced to play this specific archetype, and if you don't play, you go fuck yourself, right? On the other hand, I view it as, it incentivizes players like myself to play more than just the same 2 teams over and over and over and over and over and over again. It really is like a very different vibe from a lot of the current gacha games, because for Epic 7, the amount of depth I've mentioned this in my very first Epic 7 video for when I first played Epic 7, the amount of depth when it goes into endgame content, or not even endgame content, your PVE, your guilds, your abyss, your labyrinths, especially labyrinth, your RTA, the meta shifting, a lot of it changes very fast, and it's very demanding, and you are almost forced as a player to play around this archetype, or you're just not gonna clear. Luckily for you, the game gives you a lot of tools. The game gives you a lot of free units. In fact, I would dare say 80% of the 5-stars I got over here, they are all completely free, right? The games give you a lot of these resources. It's just up to you as a player whether or not you want to use them and make use of those given free resources to clear the content. RTA PvP maybe not as much, because I would say the RTA and PvP, they are revolving around the banners themselves, right? Like for example, the Renak banner, Barranca, you know, all these units, they will definitely shape the PvP environment. On the other hand, the game also gives you a shit ton of boosts. I'm not sure how it was like for last time, but at least for a new player myself right now, it gives you a lot of boosts, to the point where I don't think anybody will have any issues getting pretty much any limited, non-limited banner as long as they want it. Maybe the Mystic Summon is gonna be a bit of a problem if you keep going for 200 PDs, because this shit is very rare. But for like these kind of like normal ass banners, I think anybody can just pick up one copy, because it just gives you so many of these summons, right? And so many events, the stamina and everything. To kind of wrap up this entire video, I would say go in but not expecting the same sort of gameplay loop that you expect from like mainstream gachas nowadays. And if you find yourself enjoying the loop, you find yourself enjoying the depth that it has to offer, learning the team comps, studying the defenses, right? Or what the meta are you gonna be, right? Nightmare Queen, Nightmare Carcanis. What sort of team comp can you run in replacement, right? The Abyss guides. How do you make use of this mechanic? How do you deal with this boss? A lot of these depths is not as simple of, okay, run Surik, you win. Run the latest 5-star, you win. It's not that straightforward. So I personally find myself enjoying this a lot, even after 1 month. Hopefully, all of these experiences that I've had, I'm not sure if there are even 10, because I have no script. I'm just rambling on talking about Epic 7. So I will come to the end of this video right here. Looking forward to my next 3 things coming up, which is gonna be clearing all of Nightmare Raid, 12-hour crafting stream, RTA. Right? Word of the day is gonna be, you picked up this game for the Abobas, you stuck to this game for MrPokke. Okay, I don't know, right? Okay, I'm done.